All right, very good morning to you, Wehiga Mora from Nyeri County. A very, very chilly morning here, I must say. But Wehiga, like you say, we're talking about a crop that is very vital to the existence of the people of this particular county, coffee. And of course, it has faced a lot of challenges. In fact, Wehiga, we have seen some farmers from this particular region uprooting this particular crop, saying that it is no longer profitable. And of course, some people telling stories of how coffee was what put them through school, and actually coffee is the reason they are who they are in life. And to help us understand what the problems have been in this particular county or across the country when it comes to this sector is a man who actually chairs a society that has 4 factories, and he's going to just help us understand exactly what has been the problem, and possibly if there is a cure or there is a solution that is on the way. Karibu sana, a very good morning to you. Kindly introduce yourself and help us understand what has been the main challenge for you as a coffee farmer, but also as a leader of coffee farmers.
Good morning. My name is Peterson Moriuki Kigodo. I'm the current chairman of Tekango. Tekango have got 4 factories. That is Gongoro, where we are today. There is Kalogoto, there is Wakamata, and there is Tego. The main challenge of the coffee now, it is like today the weather is very bad, and the media is saying that we are going for the weather is going that way for about 3 months, which is not very comfortable with coffee, because we need professionals for the acaricides or the dawas that we use to spray. They are very costly. We need the government to do something to have good quality of these dawas with a small amount of money, so that the farmer can be able to buy it. The other disadvantage is not having fertilizer in the right time. Right now, we have a subsidized fertilizer, which came very late at the end of June. No, at the end of May. And it was supposed to come at April. That is another disadvantage. The other disadvantage is the marketer. We would like to have somebody to be milling our coffee and making an added value, like those who are recurrents, so that we can export with the words, with the society's name. Now, like the Tego, like Tekango, we will have exporting our coffee in that name. So those people, those countries that need our coffee, would rightly go to the market and say, can I have kahawa from Tekango in a such factory which he have tasted.
Right. Yeah. And maybe when it comes to money, why don't we see farmers earning equally? Some factories give very little money to the farmer, others maybe give a little bit more. Maybe what is the problem? Why do we see farmers not getting the amount of money maybe they deserve in their pockets?
The other problem now we have is the marketers and the millers, because we have people who can, now like today we are going to have somebody body that will be selling this factory's coffee, which is competitive. And if the government can have, say, like they do tendering, so that the seller or the marketer will say, I will give this amount of money, which is competitive. That one would be okay. But now it seems as if it is locally arranged here by the management or with the farmer. A marketer promised to give 90, while he is only giving 72. That is the other disadvantage.
Right. And maybe my final question would be, we have seen some societies organize themselves and actually they're able to roast their coffee, actually brand it, and maybe the farmer gets a little bit more. Maybe what are some of the challenges that have made farmers not be able to have branded coffee, roasted coffee, or processed coffee that we can actually buy from the market?
That is another disadvantage because of lack of money. Like now, let me say, like Odai have got its own machines to roast and to brand the coffee, so it can market it outside the country with their name Olaya and in such a factory. The problem now here is money. If we could have a machine which is a bit costly, about 30 to 50 millions, we could have roasting our coffee and brand it and then we export it outside, which can have an added value. That is another disadvantage. I think that is enough.
Okay, maybe as I let you go, there is a proposed law that is going to make it mandatory for coffee to actually be branded before it is sold outside the country. Do you think that this will help you as a farmer get more money in your pocket?
Yeah, that one will help because as a, say like now, if the Chicago coffee is now sold at America, which is branded from here, it will double or more times of the cost which could be which you could sold it when it is not roasted. That is another advantage. It will be another advantage. Okay. And we are congratulating Mr. Keiyah, the MP, who is taking that motion at the Parliament, so that our coffee could be exported when it is roasted and when it is already branded. Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right, Wahiga, I like you hear this gentleman say that most of the times a farmer and the person who actually buys the coffee is a local arrangement. And like he's saying, one of the reasons farmers do not actually get what they deserve is because there are a lot of people who come in between the person who gets the final product, that is the buyer, and the person who is the farmer. A lot of middlemen and a lot of people in between, millers. And so a farmer actually gets the least money. To give you an example, Wahiga, 1 kg of roasted coffee costs about 2,000 shillings across the country. But when it comes to the farmer gets only about 100 shillings. Actually, the highest paid farmer in Nyeri this year gets 100 shillings, 105 shillings per kg. If you can compare that to 2,000 shillings, which is roasted and branded coffee, it's really peanuts. And therefore, farmers like this chairman has said the government maybe needs to intervene and help the farmers be able to negotiate, because farmers negotiate for themselves with brokers and millers, and these millers make a killing out of the farmers' effort. Back to you in studio, Wahiga Maura from Nyeri County.
All right, let's get into that discussion right now and get some reaction from my guests here in studio. Thank you so much, Martin Manene, for bringing us that particular perspective from Nyeri County. We now want to talk about the coffee sector. What state is it in right now? What needs to be done to improve it? And let me introduce my guest in studio. We'll start with Eva Muthuuri, who's a coffee trader. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And we also have Professor Keiyah, who's the chairman of the Coffee Sector Implementation Committee. Welcome to the program, Prof, as well.
Thank you, Eva.
Thank you. Let me immediately get a minute each reaction from you. You've heard about what that farmer in Nyeri County has to say. Prof, let me start with you and get a reaction in terms of what he's just spoken and whether you agree with everything he said or not.
Thank you, Higa, for giving this opportunity to come and discuss the status of the coffee subsector. Obviously, the conversation prior to this seems to be right on the mark. I think we used to do 130 metric tons in 1980s. This has come down to an average of about 40,000 metric tons. Obviously, some of the issues that can be explained, these are in different, maybe in 3 categories. You have the production cost, which has really gone up significantly. Then you also the processing cost, which has also gone up, significantly, as well as the marketing challenges.
Okay, those are some of the challenges bedeviling the coffee sector at this time.
Yes.
Eva, let me come to you even as you give us your initial thoughts. I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you think the government is serious about reviving coffee in this country?
Thank you very much, Waiga. And yes, I would want to believe.
Hesitantly yes or strong yes?
A very strong yes, because we have the highest office in the land backing these reforms. That is a very good indicator of the commitment levels to get this sector revived and to get the reforms up and running. And we have Prof here who's heading that committee that is implementing the reforms. Of course, they will not come overnight. It's not a switch on, switch off situation, but it is a process that if we all engage in and believe in the best, we can get there. And we need to get there because Kenya is the finest coffee in the world. We're dealing with the second most traded commodity in the world market. Everywhere in the market, people want to buy Kenyan coffee. So we really have a market out there. Of course, there are challenges of price fluctuations and so on, but it is a commodity whose market is ready, and we can only have the reforms to get the farmers motivated enough to produce.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prof, let me come back to you. And in some ways, I kind of feel like coffee in Kenya is like oil in Nigeria. You have this resource that is, desired around the world, that, can bring great value, but at the same time, the value on the ground is not being felt. And I use the example of oil in Nigeria because we are shown pictures of people queuing to get oil. And in Kenya, we see complaints of people saying, we're not getting enough money from our coffee. Talk to us about the kind of reforms that you're working on and what you believe will happen if those reforms are implemented, in the long term.
Thank you very much, Wahiga. The fundamental problem, like the latest stated earlier on, is that we had in 1980s, when we used to do very well, 130 metric tons. That production declined significantly to about 40,000 metric tons. But notwithstanding this production, Mr. Wahiga, we have the Kenyan coffee, as Eva rightly stated, fetching premium prices in the global market. The problem, though, is those prices or those signals are not credibly signaled to the farmer down there, because for various reasons. And that is the basis upon which the president, and I think we want to pay a lot of special tribute to the president, for taking time and actually appointing my committee and actually instructed us to go and look what has really bedeviled this subsector. What we found is a very, very complicated value chain with a lot of players. But fundamentally, the property rights of the person who owns this commodity are not well protected. Any other person along the value chain, including the government, are supposed to be the agent of this farmer. So the reforms that the president asked us to implement were basically, premised on about 8 pillars, which basically embodied our report. The first one was to ensure that, excuse me, there is a legal framework. What we found when we started doing this analysis, that we found a legal lacuna in terms of the general coffee regulation that governs the sector were based on the Coffee Act of 2002. That act was repealed by the Crop Act of 2013, but those regulations still remained, which in most cases were antithetical to the property rights of the farmer. The other pillar that we really propose is to a 3-year subsidy, addressing some of the issues of the farmer that we saw earlier on talking, in terms of trying to assist the farmer reducing the production costs. To
bring down their production costs.
Yes.
If you were to tell, if you met a foreigner, I know you're going for a fair, I think in Amsterdam, and you tell us a little bit about that.
Sure.
But and obviously you meet people there who don't know about the Kenyan situation, and they'll ask you in a nutshell, what ails Kenyan coffee? What do you tell them in one sentence, Prof?
Actually, it's about production, but I'll have a positive message, Wahiga, that Kenya is coming back. And I really truly believe that we have the commodity. All we need to do is to get our act together within our country, but the market is still there. We cannot satisfy the demand in the international market. So I'll tell them very honestly that usually we have some challenges. Most of them know because they keep on asking where the Kenyan coffee has gone, but I also tell them that there are some institutional reforms that we are doing, and watch out, Kenya is coming back.
Watch out in how many years? 5, 10, 3?
I'd say maybe 2 or 3.
2 or 3?
Yes.
That's a brave promise, Prof. We'll make sure we keep you accountable. Eva, you come in, you can react to what Prof has said, but in addition, we're told that Uganda is catching up in terms of coffee production. In your view, what are they doing differently? Is Uganda one of the countries we should be worried about, or should we just focus on our own issues and sort them? What would you say about that?
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Aiga. First and foremost, Uganda grows robusta coffee. We grow arabica coffee. So we are focusing on different market segments. However, what they're doing is admirable. They have a 6-point plan, which they are adhering to. The difference between Kenya and Uganda is that they first of all got rid of their cooperative movement, and now they are trying to bring it back. And that signals where probably the bottleneck is the governance of the cooperative sector, and that is one of the point plans I know in the implementation plan, the institutional capacity building of the cooperatives, the factories, societies, and unions, which I personally have been involved in, trying to get them to raise their voices, speak to government, figure out what needs to be figured out without a fight. So we are coming back. We need not to worry. It is always nicer to, clean up your own house and then go see what new furniture the neighbor has brought, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting point. Prof, even as you come in, so you've been, in a sense, understanding the challenges of the sector and then seeking to bring about reforms as directed by the president. Yeah. Talk to me about public participation. What have you done to ensure that every farmer across the country feels that they, they kind of have a say in what you're doing or what you're going to give, if it's a report or recommendations or that sort of thing? For example, someone here is saying in Machakos, Mitaboni coffee members were paid 19 shillings per kilogram. Why? While in other areas we are seeing some are paid 100, 105. So have you been able to, in a sense, get feedback from everyone? That's one. But secondly, we know that traditional coffee is grown in about, 31 counties in the country. But the focus has been on central. What about the other counties? What are you going to do to ensure that the other counties also are, involved in this renaissance, resurgence, or revival of the coffee sector?
Thank you very much, Wahiga. Let me, start by saying that in terms of, maybe this is the second question about the third one.
Involving all the counties.
Let me also put it in record that we had early part this year, late January, we had a meeting with all the 31 coffee growing governors in Naivasha, and I walked them through the process, and we all agree that coffee is the kind of pharmaceutical reforms that we are taking. They were very much in agreement. So it is not necessarily that these reforms work on the central province. Actually, the potential areas are areas in the Rift Valley, Trans Nzoia, which is now the emerging area because of they have enough land to expand. In terms of public participation, let me also state it very, very clearly and categorically, is that one of my objective is to ensure that the regulation that we are trying to enact have met the threshold of the procedural process. And one of the key components of the procedural process is public participation. Okay. We have, even during the task force, we went to all the 31 growing counties. Obviously, we cannot, consult each and every farmer, but we did have, made an effort to go and have a meeting in those areas. We are also in the process again doing the consultation of the regulations, and actually we are on the tail end of again ensuring that this public participation is being observed. And I can promise you that that is one thing that I think I'm trained as a lawyer as well as an economist, and I think public participation is a key ingredient in my initiatives.
Fair enough. Eva, let me come back to you. So you're heading to the Amsterdam Coffee Fair, I think tomorrow or something of the sort. Talk to us about, you'll be giving a lecture on African women leadership in the coffee sector. Talk to us about African women in the coffee sector, what you're going to go and share about, and what your expectations are from this coffee fair. Okay,
thank you. Yes, I'm traveling tonight to the World of Coffees Conference. Is organized by the Specialty Coffee Association of Europe. David Veal is a good friend of Kenya, a friend of ours. And he specially requested that Kenya participates because we produce what is called specialty coffee. About African women in coffee, couple of challenges stand out for me, both as a researcher and as a trader, that in Kenya especially, coffee factory membership is tied to the title deed, which is owned by the men in the home. And therefore, whenever the women work, the men, earn.
And of the sweat of the women.
Exactly. And most of the women I have spoken through the Alliance of Women in Kenya, which is a membership organization of women involved in the coffee value chain, and it exists in 22 countries in the world. We want to invite women in consumer chapters, consumer countries, to buy from women in the African countries, and we've done a study in 8 countries that shows that the problems are across board.
Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. Prof, just wrap this up for us. I believe you'll also be going to that World of Coffee Fair. What can or what should the world expect from Kenya?
Very simply, our message is, once we get there, is to tell the rest of the world that Kenya is really coming back. We had some challenges. We have some institutional challenges we're working on, but in terms of marketing, we are hoping that going to Amsterdam will be a critical step toward marketing coffee. What I can, in a very simplistic way, Wahiga, that can allow people to capture what actually is happening. In Kenya, it's like we are producing Mercedes, but we are marketing as a tuk-tuk.
Okay.
So our marketing strategy needs to be up, and go there and start shouting to the top of the hill that we are doing, our quality is one of the top, and that gives us some kind of a leeway to be able to tell the rest of the world that we are, we have been down, but slowly we are really coming up. Let me in a quick make some reference of the question that you asked Eva about Uganda. Uganda is doing about maybe 4 million bags per year. 3 million is robusta, and about 1 million is arabica. But just still, even us, when we're doing 700,000 bags, we are making more money than Uganda. Wahiga is Kenya. We have been the cradle of coffee. We have the people who have trained Ethiopians. We are the one who have trained the Ugandans. We are credited for reviving coffee in Vietnam. Vietnam is now the second producer in the world. And I'm saying these attributes, we still have them in this country.
Okay.
And I'm hoping maybe that can be a bit point and can rally us over to push
that
back.
We can learn from what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I really like the example you gave that our coffee is Mercedes quality, but our marketing is tuk-tuk. Thank you so much for that. That's been Professor Joe Keiyah. He's the chairperson of the Coffee Sector Implementation Committee, and Eva Muthuuri, a researcher, I believe, and a trader as well on matters coffee. Thank you for joining us. We certainly wish you all the best as you represent the country at that coffee fair in Amsterdam, and bring back the goodies that the Kenyan farmers can enjoy.